Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ryan and Elly podcast.
Hi.
And I'm pretty in pink today as well.
We're matching.
Living my best life.
You love it. Pink to make the boys wink.
Yeah, so we're going to share a bit of a story about how we ended 2023, started 2024, and it sort of links to the subject of today's podcast about the sort of comments that Elly's had. So if you didn't know, she contracted, is that the word you use?
I don't know.
I think the word's contracted sepsis. But story time. Let's you go first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so December the 30th, Saturday morning. So I think it's really important to say, like, leading up, because I also want to spread awareness about sepsis, because I actually had no idea. And I think that's the scary part as well, and how we got there. So leading up to December the 30th, I was feeling it myself. I even had selfies in the gym of me training. Saturday morning, I woke up at about 3 a.m. in the morning, and I just felt like extremely cold, like so cold. I had the shivers.
The teeth were chatting. It was doing my head.
I remember thinking that. I was like, oh my God, I am like triggering Ryan. Like, if you listen to our last podcast,
I've got a thing about sounds.
Noise. And he was like, I think he was like, do you need to like be so loud? And I was like, I just felt as if I had no control of my body, and I just felt my whole body like was shivering. It was painful, like my bones were hurting. And I remember saying to Ryan, I'm so cold, can you get me a hot water bottle?
Yeah, and then I was like, but you're sweating. I was like, you're literally hot. I was like, I don't think that's right. And then you had stuff on, didn't you? You had to be in the health club. So I was like, look, you can't go to the health club. And you message everyone that you've arranged to meet in the health club I can't, I've got work in a few hours, I'll be fine.
Like, I think I've just got the flu, I'll be okay. I need to work, just get me a hot water bottle.
Then it must be about an hour of you doing this, like chattering. I was tossing and turning, trying to get sleep, because I was like, I can't help you right now then.
You went to get the hot water bottle in the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it escalated, because I remember Ryan then was no longer in the bed. And I've never had this ever experienced this thing, but the fear. I started getting to the point where I think I was calling out your name, because all of a sudden, I don't know if it was a panic. I couldn't breathe. And I just remember thinking, I'm scared now. Where are you? And then you then came in the hot water bottle, so it just wasn't.
And I was like, I'm calling an ambulance. You're not calling an ambulance. And like, Elly has this bit of a joke that I love A&E, but I don't love A&E. I might have been there a bit more than Elly.
For hiccups. True story.
Yeah, that's another
story.
I've been to A&E for hiccup. But I was like, there's something not right. We need to get you to the hospital. Like, there's something not right. I know Elly in as well. Elly's had various struggles with her health, and we probably will cover other areas to do with her health, because I think it's important to share the journey of it. But I know my wife, and I was like, there's something not right, something needs to change. And then it was like, yeah, but I don't want to petrify the kids. It's 3:00 in the morning. We're not calling the ambulance. So you reluctantly let me agree to call the doctors, didn't you?
Out of hours, yeah. We called out of hours.
And described the situation. And they were like, right, where do you live? Right, we live in St. Martin's, which, if you ain't from Jersey, it's like a 10-minute drive, but it's out in the sticks, and Jersey, everything's a bit like slow. So they were like, you'll be quicker driving her into hospital anyway, but you need to get her into A&E.
And by this point, I'm not impressed. Like, really not impressed. Ryan's then laying me up with clothes. And I thought, do you remember? Because I had socks on.
Because I've got a thing about her feet.
Ryan likes my toes. Anyway, maybe another story. And I thought he was taking. Well, you were taking my socks off because you were trying to tuck.
I was trying to tuck your socks
the joggers,
into
to kind of make sure that I was like really wrapped up, because I just was so cold. And I just remember like snapping at him, leave my socks on, not now. And then we eventually
got in the car.
I
was getting shouted at. I can't believe you're getting us. What a waste of time taking us to A&E. I was supposed to be going to work in a few hours. I was like, look, I've messaged to people, you ain't going to work.
Wasn't I telling you off for driving too fast?
Yeah. Can you slow down? I actually wasn't even going that fast, because I felt a bit like, not like, had an adrenaline, a bit nauseous. I was like, I need to try and keep calm. This is what we've got to do. And then it was like, right, let's get you into there. Where do I park then? Like, couldn't find nowhere to
Abandoned
park.
car.
So then I've abandoned the car, like in a big warning, do not park here. Dumped Ellie in A&E, told them what's wrong. They said, I'll sit there. I said, I need to go move the car. They said, you can't leave her there like that. So, yeah.
I think as well at this point, with my history of my health, sort of like things that I've had, my struggles, I've always felt as if I'm wasting time. I'm wasting people's time, like the experts' time, because it was always felt so complex that we could never really get to the bottom of it. And I think I was having this fear that I had taken myself to A&E at 3 o'clock in the morning. It felt very dramatic. And although I felt so ill, because of my past experiences, I just didn't want to look like as if I was wasting someone's time. And I remember seeing there was a young lad, I think he had a head injury, and I was thinking, like, you need to look after him, don't worry about me. At the same time, I'm gasping for air, but I just was like, I don't want to be anyone's waste time. Anyway, go into triage. My heart rate is like 135 plus, temperature 39.9. And they were like, straight away, you need to...
They done bloods to check if she's having a heart attack. They were
they couldn't...
and then they had myocarditis.
Yeah, the infection went to the heart.
And then I think it took probably about 7 or 8 hours for them to determine it was sepsis from them taking various bloods. They were investigating appendicitis,
ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah, everything. They literally turned Ellie inside out to find out exactly what the problem was. They never actually found the root cause of the infection. So if you don't know a lot about sepsis, but sepsis can be caused by like an infection that you've had that hasn't been treated properly.
Gets into the blood.
And it gets into the blood. So, you know, a lot of people do die from it. So,
well, they said that and I have thanked you after all this, and we kind of like talked about it, because it was actually really important, because I think we both kind of faced some form of like trauma. It was scary for us both. You saw me, because the episode of the breathlessness happened again when I couldn't breathe once I was on the ward.
Yeah.
And they did say, like, you know, I am so lucky that Ryan was on the ball. And despite, like, I was giving him a hard time, I am really grateful, because you probably most likely saved my life. And you know,
cute.
But it's
You've
true.
saved mine before.
It's true. But like one of the... because one of the statements that I've had, and it kind of led to me in my recovery after being in hospital, was... I started to feel a little bit of shame, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, but and it wasn't just one person that said this was like multiple statements. And the question was, how does someone like you get sepsis?
Yeah.
So now I would then kind of like have then,
did you do something wrong?
Yeah, did I do something wrong? Like, are they trying to insinuate as if like I'm not hygienic or
missed a trick, or you've done something?
Have I been stupid or something like that?
Only people who are poor health get ill or something like that. Yeah, and it is a genuine thing. Like, we're a bit like, why people had that, but part of it is, again, I think it's a lack of awareness as part of it. But then it's been like like for Elly, I have to say, it's been a relatively like quick bounce back. It won't have felt quick for Elly, but to get back to full health. And it's one thing that we often say to people is like, with health, physical health and mental health, almost prevention is always going to be better than cure. And it's one thing that, like, even when she's been back to see follow-ups and stuff like that, the thing I've always said is, the fact that you've looked after yourself, kept yourself physically and mentally fit, is part of testimony to why, like, within 3 months, Elly's up running her fastest times, you know, things like that. And it's not about just celebrating, oh, look what's possible, but it is just sort of sharing the importance and value of looking after your health, because you will recover so much better. Like, we never know what's going to throw at us. We can't control every single thing that will be that will happen to us from a health perspective, but what we can do is all within our power to try and make sure that if it happens, we're going to recover fast.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the comments that, like, the health, you know, professionals did say, was because obviously my heart, the thing when it had gone to my heart rate was fluctuating. It was going down to, like, wasn't it like...
Yeah, they're like, your heart rate's like 40 something, then it was getting a warning because the heart rate was dropping below 40. So then I've actually got a video of it. Maybe we should put that on in the middle and show you. But the heart rate was dropping below 40, and it starts beeping. And then, like, they're coming in, like, and I'm like, her heart rate does rest, like, sometimes around 40, like low 40s anyway. She has got a low resting heart rate. So, yeah. I think that the scariest thing for me was I was about to go because it was like, it wasn't even visiting times. They put Ellie in this ward, bless her, and Ellie was half the age of all the others in this ward. And I've been told, look, get ready to go. She's like, right, I'm going to go. And then she looked at me and it was like, what's the phrase? The headlights, the sheep animal? Rabbit in the headlight. Is it rabbit or deer in the headlights? Rabbit in the headlights looked at me and I was like, she's not right. She's like, oh no. And then the heart rate starts going crazy. So I was like, excuse me, and there's a lad that was there, right? He was a healthcare assistant. So he's like, I can't really do it. Like, he pressed this button and it was like on the films. It's like on the movies, like all these people, like literally doctors, nurses, I don't know who else coming in and charging. And then one of the nurses I actually went to school with, I was like, right, just come and sit out into the parents' room. I was like, to the family room. I was like, is she going to be all right now? Yeah, she'll be fine. But it was literally like, they were so quick.
Yeah.
That was probably the most petrifying thing because I got marched out and I was like, shit.
That kind of makes me feel a bit emotional actually, because it's just like brings back like my memories, and it's like you forget like stuff like in that. I think that's what that blacked out.
I'll never forget that feeling because it was probably. I think that getting you to hospital, I wasn't as fearful. It was that like, I think he pressed it was like a bar behind the bed, pressed it, and I've never seen like people charge in like they did. I think there must have been 3 or 4 nurses and at least a doctor within about 10 seconds. And, you know, you're talking another 20 seconds, you've got more that have turned up. It was mental. So, yeah.
And then, so I was, so I had to have a lot of medication. I was pumped with, obviously the medication for the heart, then the infection, because we knew there was an infection somewhere in my body that needed, so I had a lot of strong medication. And this is something really important to kind of I think address is like how medication has an effect on your body. My body literally swelled.
Yeah, I'm sure we could put the pictures on this as well. Yeah.
Another best moment of mine. But
we'll
to the point where I was unrecognisable, and poor Neve came to visit me in hospital, and she looked at me and she was terrified of me. I remember I had to take my rings off.
Obviously, she just saw your face,
my
but
face
it had
just ballooned.
It was probably only 12 hours since I'd seen Elly, and obviously in that 12 hours they've been filling her with all of the medication and stuff, and I got a shock totally fine, but yeah, Neve, bless her, she didn't want to see you again, and she was petrified of it.
And I think that's like, if you are, aside to like sepsis, but for anyone relatable, like if you're on like medications and stuff, it's understanding as well that even like through stress, and then we talk about like water, and that's why we always step away from just looking at physical goals, like obviously like what we talked on our last podcast, because there are variables that affect how you look. And for me, I definitely kind of like a different body. And
that's, I think, another thing of recognising, often it's a sign that it's working, like that means that the medication is in the body and it is responding and it's working it's just part of the process. So, we have to learn to sort of try and take those steps back and know actually your health is always going to be the most important part. If you put all the different things in your life that you enjoy out, in front of you, as soon as you pull your health away, it's very difficult to enjoy any of them. So, we really want to try and emphasise the importance of just doing what you can to prioritise your health in the best possible way. And, we often get, people when we talk about, I'm fine, then like, what do you do to promote your health? And they're not doing anything, which that's on them, but we're like, we want to be trying to do anything that we know our future self will thank us for, even if it is just getting that heart rate up a little bit once or twice a week. That helps build a healthier heart. It doesn't have to be nothing overly strenuous, it doesn't have to be nothing overly complex, but like I think that's the one most powerful thing I would say is like your health genuinely is your wealth, and you never want to put yourself in a position where you'd look back and wish you had done more when you could. Yeah,
and it's exhausting not being well, like physically and mentally. And I remember I had to go and have, after I was discharged from hospital, I then had to go and see my doctor because I had to have like a, what's the word? Follow-up, yes.
I'm on the ball today.
Brain fart. I had to have a follow-up, and I was like, I've had they wanted to give me a sick note in hospital, but I'm self-employed, got my own businesses, can I go back to work? And she was like, are you joking? And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm like, I think I was still in denial about what had happened. She was like, you're not working now for a good number of weeks. Like, your body has been through so much. And then one thing she said to me is, she's like, also, like, mentally, like, you need to, like, look after yourself, because you maybe find what happens is, like, your brain will try and like forget everything that's happened, or it'll block it out, and you kind of haven't recalled the process that you've gone through and everything. That she said, like, that could be a scary moment, like a bit of, I don't want to use the word trauma, but like, it was a lot to deal with, a lot of emotions, and I generally thought I was going to die. I had to kind of understand that, accept it, and then deal with the next steps of my recovery. And a lot of that was looking after myself emotionally and mentally, because obviously in my career, like, I'm a coach, I help people, like, physically, mentally, and I just felt as if I'm now not living that lifestyle that I'm preaching to everyone. I couldn't do anything.
Because then that was the whole thing where I had to tell you to stop scrolling.
Yeah.
Because, that's another thing, like we've sort of talked about already as well, is sometimes it's like recognising how you're feeling before you start scrolling, because then you end up with that comparison. And then I think it also didn't help was, like, we had a really good 2023, but we were ready to see things move forward in 2024. So we've got all this excitement, and then it was like, it's January, everybody's motivated, everyone, like, is on it, and Elly felt a little bit like retracted, because it's like the health club was buzzing, the onliners were buzzing, boot campers were buzzing, it was just like that. And then all Elly's probably seeing on her social media was everyone else is into fitness, so and it's difficult. So again, that whole comparison doesn't help, does it?
I did actually delete apps, because everywhere I was looking, everyone was setting New Year's resolutions, everyone was like working towards the best them, and I love that, that's what I preach, but mentally it just wasn't serving me, because I then felt as if I had lost a sense of I'm really struggling with my words today.
Not self-worth, sense of purpose.
Yeah, that's it. Sense of purpose.
I'll be your brain today.
Thanks. Because even the role as mum, I wasn't fulfilling. I couldn't take the kids to school, wasn't doing their lunch boxes. I didn't have the energy to do anything. Even with our client work, I remember the next week spending so many times like apologising for my silence, and even though I didn't need to.
And I think every single one was like, look, you've not done well. But just a perspective for that, Elly is the type that she gave birth to Neve by C-section. And that evening, like, I'm at home, even May's gone to bed, and I start hearing my phone buzzing. I'm like, what's going on? It's Elly messaging our one-to-one clients. Like, she's in hospital, had a C-section that day, messaging clients, because that's just the way that Elly, what's the word? Like, your brain ticks, isn't it?
I just want to make sure we love what we do, and I do love what we do, but I always just I never kind of, I don't know, I don't know how if I can put it into words. Like, I never want to feel as if like anything that I've done, even if it's C-section, is gonna, impact someone else. And that's why, like, I then carry it. And that's why for me, it wasn't just the physical recovery following the sepsis, it was my mental journey, because I had also then set this big goal for 2024 that I was going to do a triathlon, and January was, I wanted to go and get my training program, and it just felt like I can barely walk. This goal was not going to happen. I was then, how habitual you then start creating these like thought processes that aren't really true, but because how you're feeling so low, then your thoughts can get low. And, I just thought, well, that's not going to happen now.
But it is.
Hopefully.
I think it will.
And I think that's coming to the next part of what we wanted to discuss and this is relatable. Say, for example, you've had a break for any reason of like working towards your goals. It could have been like maybe you've had a child. It could be from an injury or an illness, or perhaps you just had been in a rut where working on yourself wasn't taking priority for whatever reason. And then you're like, right, okay, day one. What is really important is not to compare yourself to what you were doing, or move the microphone, what you were doing, or to someone else, because that's not going to be helpful on your next part to your journey. It literally is seeing it as day one. Now, doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means that you're taking pride and care into something that's important to you. And this is just your day one. You're not going to be there forever.
Yeah, it's like we say, you can go in and try and go all out. You might take 3 or 4 steps forward faster, but then you're going to fall back 7 or 8 steps. Whereas actually, if you just take 1 or 2 very slow steps, you can build momentum. And if you are somebody who has pre-existing strength there, has pre-existing fitness levels there, you will find that much quicker by being patient. And it is frustrating, and it's like, I'm half not talking from experience, so like it's a bit more challenging, but I do think that I was probably a pain in Elly's backside, because I was telling her, you need to take it slow, because
really worried.
At the moment they're sort of like investigating whether Elly could have an autoimmune, so it's something that like when Elly does get ill, it knocks her for 6, and like we've seen this now the last 10 years I've been in Elly's life. When Elly is ill, it batters her, so it's like, you need to take baby steps, and there's no shame in doing that. In fact, there should be more pride in people taking baby steps than jumping all over, up and down, that they've jumped leaps and bounds for a week or a month and then been unable to sustain it, or they've slipped backwards, because that's not providing a bigger insight. It's like, look at the people that have achieved a lot of success in any area. They've probably been looking at very small bits of progress, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. And it's like, I think I saw a quote like Usain Bolt, he trained for 4 years to run less than
9 seconds.
yeah, and it's like, it's that sort of principle when it comes to, if you want to feel like progress, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be put in. And if it is rebuilding yourself from the ground up, focus on here first. Like, that's what Elly had to do. Elly didn't bother trying to push the physical stuff once she had a firm word off me, didn't you? Once she'd had a firm word off me, she then started to work on the mind of, actually, you know what? I can do this, but I just need to be patient. I'm not, and it is difficult.
Yeah, and I'll be completely honest, there was a lot of tears. There was some real challenges going on. And that's why I think it's really important, because, and it's often one of the reasons, like, we don't always push like before and after photos when we look at progress, because I think often when you see a before and after, that's all you see, but you don't see what happened, like the during, and it's the during that really matters. And I'm always saying often, like, literally focus on the first step, then to the next step. These steps lead to places. It's like one day at a time. Often that doesn't feel believable, but I'm literally like, my whole recovery was all about that. I remember after a couple of weeks thinking, right, okay, I'm feeling great. I'm back to work now. I'm going to go back to my runs. Last month I did in November I was doing 15-kilometer run. I can go out and do it. And I literally got 600 meters. I then had a panic because, do you remember? Yeah. Because you when my heart, because of my heart rate, we wondered like whether I was having like fluctuations with my heart rate, and I had to be really careful not to push my heart rate too high. And as soon as I went out on this run, naturally, because I'm running, my heart rate I think went to like 150 beats.
And because you're competitive.
Yeah. And it then sent me into a spiral of, the last time my heart rate was this high, I ended up in hospital. Then I felt myself having a panic. So then I was scared, because another common after sepsis is panic attacks. And I felt as if, and I just remember calling you and I was just crying, and then I felt like a failure. And then I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I need to just slow it down. I just need to focus on one day at a time, one step, just start off with walks. And that might seem like, starting off walks, I mean, how long is that going to take? But I'm like here to talk from the other side now. I did it gradual. I followed everything by the book. And now coming into what we're now coming towards the end of April. So 4 months later, I have now got my distance back. My runs have feeling stronger. I'm feeling really good in my training, and now the triathlon goal, though I've not entered it yet, is feeling more realistic that it is going to happen. And so please don't get frustrated with yourself if your progress is taking longer than what you initially thought. It's important to remember the overall of where you want to be.
That's it. It's like, you see someone building a house, one brick seems insignificant, but when you're building these bricks up over time, and it's like Elly said there with the exercise, even if walking's not something, it could just be, let's focus on that one positive, like water, there's so many different areas you can look at. We become so negatively tuned when things don't go our way. And it's natural, it's human nature. So it's not like us discrediting it, but it's let's take a step out and be like, what can I gain control of? And it's one thing that, I think I get frustrated at times with people because we'll just focus on what we can't do. We'll just focus on what's going wrong. And it's like, well, let's take a step out. Like, look at what can you do? Like, what physical things can you do? Well, could you nourish your body a little bit better that requires zero movement? Yeah, okay. Could you make sure that you're getting some sleep in? Yeah. Could you do some practice of mindfulness that's going to help you work on your mental health when the exercise isn't able to do that? Yeah, so there's 3 things straight away that every single person watching this could do, no matter what physical situation they find themselves in. And when you start to do that, it's not always easy, particularly if you're used to the exercise like Elly. I would say both of us would use exercise as a crutch to support our mental health quite a lot. It's not, for us, every workout isn't about fitness, it's about mental health and mental wellness. So we totally can relate to the importance of it, but at times your body won't be able to do it for whatever reason, and you have to learn to listen to your body because we've only got one body, and you knock yourself backwards too far, you're going to struggle longer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, and we've probably said this a few times, is like, just asking yourself, are you doing all that you can, or the things that you're doing, are they benefiting you? And that's what's really important. And it could just be like even if it is you're starting off from day one, is, the things that you're doing is remembering that you're doing this because it's going to benefit you, and it's holding on to that. And it's having patience. Always patience is, well, hard, but, but, patience is a virtue.
Yes. And on that note, I don't think there's anything else to cover, was there? No. So we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. If you do have any questions, any comments, please do post them down below. If you're happy to send us any videos of your questions, please do send them in to us at one of the email addresses down below. If you do, Elly's email address will be on the show notes. If you do have any personal questions relating to her sepsis journey, or if you're struggling with physical health, we're not physical health experts, or maybe we're physical health but medical. We're not medical experts and don't pretend to be, but what we can do, we have a lot of experiences helping people rebuild their health post illnesses. So please do feel free to reach out if you've got any questions.
Interrupt you. And I just think it's always like that reminder, like any concerns about your health, always go and seek medical advice. What's the worst that can happen when you go to seek it? It's kind of like getting that professional advice. Don't hold back. Yeah,
you are never wasting anyone's time in a way that actually, that's a good point. We can get us a long goodbye today. I thought you got me thinking. The way that I use this against Elly, because I'm probably very quick, like I've got a good rapport with my doctor, I'll go straight away. I will ask Elly, if the kids were feeling exactly how you're feeling, what would you tell them to do? And they're like, why are you asking that? I said, because that's the answer you should follow. So if you're in a situation, you're thinking, I don't know if I need to go to the doctors or the hospital, or I'm not feeling well in myself, put yourself in your children's shoes. What would you want your children to do at that situation? It's probably the right answer for you to follow.
It's so annoying sometimes. Let us know if you want to hear Ryan's hiccup story as well.
Thank you very much. Till next time. See ya. Cheesy waves.